Live from the Echo Network Studios here in Royal Oak, Michigan. This is Odd Musings, and I'm your host, Brett Pence, along with your other host.
I'm Scott Zambelli.
And he's messing around with the camera for the Facebook Live people. So if you're watching on Facebook Live and we're not live yet, well, I guess you're late. Nothing we can do about it. Too bad. So welcome back to another live episode, and we got a lot of fun stuff today. We're going to be going back in time with time travel this day, talking about a lot of stuff within movies and TVs. Kind of ties into last week's Orville show that we watched, and if you follow us on YouTube, you could have watched our Following the Orville show, which this week will be right after the episode, about 10 minutes or so after, so we can get situated and get it online there. And we just discussed a little bit about the episode, what we liked, maybe what we didn't like, and who was the guest stars this week, if they had any. Just like they had Charlize Theron last week, and as we know, she's hot.
All right, we're doing this a different way, too.
All right, and Scott's going, we're doing it a different way, so I don't know what we're doing, because if you left it the way I wanted, I didn't care if you all watched sideways, because you should be watching this on YouTube anyways, and if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, oh well.
All right.
So, great.
Here we go.
All right, so what are we doing here?
We are going to have a hand cam.
A hand cam. Okay. So
it's the best I can do because this is Facebook is changed everything up. Anyways.
Yes, I don't know. We'll figure that out. I think I need to start bringing get a separate webcam and a laptop and start doing it that way.
Oh, that's a possibility too.
You know, make it a little bit better because they want to mess with us on all this stuff, which is ridiculous. I don't know why it's doing it. It's probably the new updates on the Androids.
Yeah, I don't. That's the one thing with Facebook when they do these updates. It's these like new and improved things, and let's see if this will go.
Yeah. Well, in the bag here,
how was your week?
The week was just fine. You know, I had no shows, so it was a stay-at-home week, and I'm getting my little device out so it'll make it easier, Scott.
There you go. Perfect.
I didn't have it ready, so we'll blame Scott.
Or we can go, woo.
Yes.
Give everyone motion sickness.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So we got all this. You got the you got to plug in the microphone so people on Facebook Live can hear us. Oh,
wait, we can.
Oh no!
You just got.
Well, it's gonna be close enough. It's not gonna matter. So. So Dom, you were in New York Comic-Con. How was that for you?
Oh man, exhausting, but a great show.
Did you get a bagel?
Did I get a bagel? Yeah, I had a couple bagels.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go back every year. I'm a little under the weather, as you could probably tell by my voice.
I think we're all under the weather. It's usually above us anyway. So.
Oh.
That is an excellent point, Brett.
Yes, that is my bad joke for the day.
Yeah.
And that's so. But today we have irresponsible speculation to start off the show. We have to talk about the new Star Wars trailer.
Not yet.
Well, we're going to.
We got to do our live read, our ad read.
Yeah, well, I was getting to it. I was just prepping the show.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going into it.
No.
We're just discombobulated because this Facebook thing totally screwed us up.
So we're going to be speculating on that 2.5 minute trailer irresponsibly. We call this irresponsible speculation. But first, our sponsor, International Minute Press from Plymouth, Michigan. They are helping promote the show today, and they design, print, and promote you. They offer specialty printing services, custom graphic designs, marketing consultation, and promotional products. IMP has the services and skills to help artists and entrepreneurs looking to take their businesses to the next level by exceeding client and customer expectations. Located at 1058 South Main Street, Plymouth, Michigan. Their phone number is 734-414-6203. Again, 734-414-6203. Or we have a link at our Odd Musings website, oddmusings.com.
This is a really jacked up episode for the live stream.
Just put it back over that way.
All right, here we go.
You know, he's making it harder than it needs to be. You know, he thinks too much with the beard. And the beard's getting in the way of logic. So we got that. So yeah, International Minute Press. So hi out to Joe and the gang out there. We're going to be ordering a banner from them because they do banners, guys. And you're going to be seeing a banner eventually here when we have the live show going correctly, and it's going to go right here. So those watching live, it'll be right here eventually. And next week, if the thing does the same, we're going to leave it, and you all have to watch us sideways.
No, we're not doing it.
And you can watch it correctly on YouTube. I think it's better than looking at this junk right here. So all
right,
because we're already reversed now. You got us backwards as it is.
I know.
So it doesn't matter. So,
anyways, all right, you did the ad read.
Yes. So
Joe rocks over at International Minute Press. That's
yes, he does. So we'll be doing some more talk about him as the future episodes.
Yes.
So Star Wars, the new trailer got dropped on Monday night, and I think it's funny they dropped it in the middle of Monday Night Football. Like any real geek is watching Monday Night Football.
Well, that's the point with the rating drops that ESPN has had lately with football and ESPN. I think this was their attempt to try to,
Yeah, and they've been
because
doing
ESPN is owned by Disney too.
right, and they're all trying to tie it all together, and that's why they did it. And it was planned before everything, I'm sure, but it's still one of those things like a bunch of geeks watching.
Now, on a cool note, quite a few people there during the halftime. I didn't watch it, but I know the 501st came marching out in their first order outfits and
Yes.
went on the field. I knew quite a few of those stormtroopers that got to go out there. So for them, it was pretty exciting. Got to see a lot of behind the scenes pictures of them in the tunnel waiting to come out. So that was pretty cool.
Good.
Pretty cool. So the trailer. What did you think, Brett?
Overall, just overall thing, I loved it. It showed a lot of cool scenes. What I like about this trailer is it didn't tell the whole story. We got a lot of hints and this stuff. So now it leads us to our what are we calling it?
Irresponsible speculation.
Yes.
And, for a lot of comments online, I saw people worried that they revealed too much and that there were a lot of spoilers. But
I think a majority, and we talked about this earlier, Scott kind of disagreed with me, but I think he knows I'm right, is a majority of that trailer is going to take place in the first 45 minutes of the movie.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I think
there's scenes there later on, but I think a lot of that stuff is early on, and it's going to lead up to what's going on, the overall.
And I think the editing of the trailer was so that it wasn't, I don't think they did reveal spoilers.
No.
I think the editing was done to make you think certain things are going to happen.
Right.
So we'll see. Just like the first trailer or the episode 7.
Yes.
When those trailers first came out, everyone was speculating, oh, Finn's going to be the new Jedi and all this stuff. And then we found out it was Rey. And the trailers did not indicate Rey at all as the Jedi.
Yeah.
So,
Well, even afterwards, after everybody saw episode 7, I had discussions with people that were saying that, oh, no, Finn is the guy he was talking about. He's the Force. He awakened the... No, if you really paid attention,
right.
The awakening, everything all happened around the same time, and within the way they were showing things. It went on. It was Rey, and she was the awakening. They noticed it because basically she started having her powers kind of manifest themselves based on events around them.
Yeah. So, and also talking before the show, it sounds like we both are in agreement too. I think the big mislead, I think, and I think you think also is. When Snoke is talking, the voiceover, and he says, "When I found you, there was such raw power in that," and I think he wasn't talking to Kylo. The way the editing is, it looks like it's Kylo he's referring to, but I think he's talking about Rey.
Yeah.
And my irresponsible speculation is, I think this is going to tie into the episode 7 flashback, where we see Rey dropped off on Jakku.
Yes.
And one of the parts that always bothered me with that flashback was the assumption, myself included, a lot of people made, was this was maybe Rey's parents or one of her parents who dropped her off there, and the person flying away is one of her loved ones.
Correct.
And I have a feeling we're going to find out it was actually Snoke who dropped her off on Jakku, because the part that always bothered me is, what loving parent would leave her kid with Unkar Plutt, which, for those who don't know who he is, he was the junk guy, the guy she was having to get her food portions from, and who she stole the Falcon from eventually. He's kind of a creep, and I don't picture a parent leaving their kid with him willingly.
Right.
So my speculation is we're going to find out Snoke either somehow kidnapped Rey or made it look like she died or something, abducted her, and he dropped her off on Jakku alone.
Well, I think it's a plausible part of it.
Yeah.
With all the hints of the amount of power they're talking about, never seen this kind of raw power,
right?
Things like this. It would make sense to hide out, just like with Anakin. Hide him out in the Outer Rim. Tatooine was out in the middle of nowhere. They didn't take Republic credits. The Republic wasn't aware of him, and even Qui-Gon Jinn made the notification that, look, if he was in the inner planets, basically for the Republic, he would have been identified at birth, and then they would have been able to take him then.
Plus, Obi-Wan knew of Anakin's hate of sand, so he wouldn't go back to Tatooine.
Well, and that's part of what it was.
I've always loved the whole I have an idea. We'll hide him from Anakin Skywalker by putting him on his birth planet with his uncles and not change his last name. He'll still be a Skywalker.
Right. Well, I think also part of it too is it was hidden away. There's no real communication between Tatooine and at that point the Empire.
Right.
So and as Vader's going around killing, he's not thinking about, well, I gotta find my kid. Your kids are dead. Okay, well, because he was told they were dead.
Right. And emotionally, I would think he wouldn't want to go back to Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, last time he had been back, what did he do? He slaughtered all kinds of sand troopers and
and his mother died.
people, and mother died. So he's got no love for that place. Even though he was over it chasing, the blockade runner at the beginning of A New Hope. It was something he's like, I don't care. Yeah, I'll send troops down there. I'm not going down there.
Right. Any other visuals from the trailer really pop out to you?
I liked the new versions of the AT-ATs. They're called something else like ATMP5 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a different name, but they definitely are a little blockier, but a little more
closely, armored. You can see, I think, a traditional size AT-AT in one of them in that shot in the distance, and it's next to another one. These ones are much larger.
Yes.
The other thing I noticed, and this is on the bottom, of, like the forearms, let's say, of the walkers.
The legs, yeah.
There's this jagged stuff going on, and I'm wondering, is that like they learned from the Battle of Hoth, like, oh, we need to put stuff that would cut cables, or
I think it's what it is.
Anti-tripping.
Yeah, they never thought before. It's like, oh, they can just wind these cables around. They figure out a simple. It's just like the Death Star, the original one. It was a little port.
And as we know, it worked for Spider-Man also against Ant-Man.
Yep.
Who was Giant Man at that time.
Right. But I loved it. I'm excited. I bought my tickets already. I'm taking my sister because I'll be down in Florida with her when it comes out.
That's right. Yeah, you'll see it in Florida.
Yep. And there's a place like 2 miles from our house. I was able to pick our seats so we can get there and not worry about fighting the crowd.
Did you get the 3D version? Or
I did not, because Brooke doesn't like the 3D as well. It bothers her eyesight and that. So I asked her ahead of time, and she was no, I had to call her actually when I was making it. She's like, nope, I'd rather not. And I was like, okay, so I'll go see it 3D by myself after that. It's not like I ain't going to see it like 5 or 8 times.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely going to see it at least once in 3D. Hopefully IMAX.
I'm hoping to see it in IMAX as well as regular 3D.
Yeah.
I'll be down in Florida the first couple weeks it comes out, so I'll be definitely checking that out.
But I definitely prefer 2D is my preference.
I saw Rogue One and Force Awakens. Both the first showings were in 3D when I saw them. I really enjoyed it. What I like about 3D with the Star Wars movies is same thing with the Blade Runner last week. It's not they're doing all these crazy 3D gimmicks. It's you get kind of a clarity in some of the depth, and so you can see things a little further out that you don't necessarily notice with the 2D.
I think they put a slight exaggeration to the 3D, to the depth of field, so that it becomes almost a hyper 3D.
Yes.
One thing I loved, especially with the Force Awakens, is the 3D, because the detail was so clear in that, things that happened in 2D you see, it's like, ooh, that's all cool. But in 3D, you notice like small details, like even like the windows, the dirt in the window, the corner of the windows of the Falcon when they're flying through. It really popped out like, oh, wow, I never noticed just how dirty those windows were. Because you could see the dirt on the window. Then
you see a lot of clarity on a lot of things that the details are there.
Yeah.
And it's details that get picked up by the film, but don't always get projected properly.
Correct.
Even when they're digitally projecting everything. So even within like Blu-ray or even the new 4K stuff they have for home, you see a lot clearer, but the 3D aspect I think brings it that much further in for the depth. That's what I like about 3D, and more than them doing the gimmicky stuff and things coming at you and you're dodging because it feels like it's right on top of you.
Yep,
I get that when I ride the rides at Universal, and that's fun, but when I'm at movies, I don't need it for storytelling.
Right.
But I do like it for, like with real quick to segue off to when the movie I saw last week, Blade Runner. It was a beautiful film, and if you saw my review, my still non-spoiler review is, if you didn't like the first one, don't go see this one. And I think that was evident by the amount of money.
Like a lot of people listen to you.
Yeah, and I hate to badmouth
31 million, I think it did, all weekend.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not good on that. It's really bad. But the beauty of the film, it's a beautiful film, and I saw it in 3D, and I liked being able to really look at stuff. And you spend a lot of time looking at the scenery, and they basically painted a really good film.
Yeah,
and it's worth seeing just for the beauty of it.
Right.
But if you don't like Blade Runner, you're going to be bored.
Right.
You really will.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus on that.
It was an homage to the original film, and it answered all the questions that really didn't need to be answered. weird. So it was almost like a unnecessary sequel, in my opinion.
Right.
But I liked it, and I'm glad it came out for me. But at the same time, if it never came out, I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The other thing that popped out in this trailer for me was Captain Phasma, that close-up shot when Finn is fighting her, and it looks like he's using a weapon from the Executioner, but I'm not sure. The Executioner stormtrooper.
It was because when I paused the thing to see what he was using, because it goes so quick, I thought at first it might have been a lightsaber.
Yeah.
But what it is just the flash of everything going on.
Right.
It looks like the exact one he had from the Force Awakens.
Yeah. So like they clash and they get that beauty shot, very close up of Phasma's helmet with all that electricity reflecting off it. It just looked amazing. So I'm definitely, the trailer did its job. I was not in hype mode yet for Star Wars.
Yeah.
That trailer definitely did it for me.
It's got me going. Now we got to wait 2 months to see it. Janice just chimed in. I can see it over on the screen there. And they're going to go do the double feature and the enhanced fan event that they're doing. I don't know if you heard about that. Did you hear about that?
Is that the one where they're playing all 8 movies?
I don't know if they're going to do the all 8 or if they're just doing episode 7 and is what Janice is doing. I know the fan event starts at 6 o'clock at the theaters I looked at. They're around here, as I saw in Florida, and they're showing the movie, and then they're going to show a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff and interviews with like the director and all that stuff afterwards. So it's a big fan event, and it's a one-time only, almost like the Fandango. I think is it Fandango or Fathom, the Fathom events that you see at the theaters and that. So it's they're not going to be running this continuously with all the extra footage, just the one time, and it starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'm sure they're replaying it for each time zone for releasing that, but I saw that with the Eastern they're doing around here. I saw that at the theater I'm going to down in Florida. It's an AMC, but we're not going till the 8:30 show, right? Because of my sister's work schedule and that. So
cool. Yeah, well, I'm hyped for it. I think for the rest of the year, I only have 2 movies left: Thor and Star Wars.
Thor and Star Wars are my 2 biggest ones. Yeah. There's other movies I've seen trailers for. I might want to go see. I definitely want to go see. Because I'm a Pixar fan, Coco, and I think that looks pretty good.
I don't even know about that one.
Oh yeah, see, you're behind the times.
Yeah, those are the only. I'm sorry, DC fans. That trailer for the latest trailer for Justice League that just came out. Just every trailer I see looks worse.
Oh, Star Wars released trailer. We'll release ours too. Guess what? Nobody saw it. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it was about a week ago they released theirs or so, maybe 2, but I think it was 1 week ago. But it's just all CGI, like horrible CGI too. It's not even good CGI.
Yeah, it's no hype. You hear about like, oh, it's been out for 2 weeks. Like, really? You think they would have had a bigger deal about it? And it comes out in a month, and they're doing to this. I think they're trying to do like they did with Wonder Woman. We just won't promote it that much, and it'll be a surprise hit. I think it's going to be an abysmal failure, and I haven't decided if I want to go see it. I probably will because I do, but
I think the fan base for the hardcore DC fan base will be enough to at least generate. I think they'll match what BVS did. The question though is, while that might be great sales, how much are they spending to? What's their break-even point? Because BVS, even though it was like $900 million, I think it cost $850 million.
After all the marketing and everything else, it was they needed $850 because they planned on their projection was this should pull in $1.5 billion worldwide. And it didn't even crack $1 billion.
Well, and in the leaked, back when they were having those email scandals where the hack happened, in the leak, the internal Warner Brother was they need to make $1 billion to consider the film a success.
Right, and they didn't hit. They were like 960 something million.
Yeah, they were just,
it was shy.
So at the very least, they were at the bare minimum.
Yeah, and this isn't trying to be a hater on DC. I like a lot of DC stuff. For those listening, but I'm going to tell you this, and this goes with anything. If I'm a fan of something and it sucks, I'm going to say it sucks because I'm a fan of it, and it should be better. And I don't like I see these people online. We get a lot of trolls that pop in different groups that we both are on, and you don't like this? Well, you're an idiot then. No, I'm not. I expect quality from, especially from stuff that's been around as long as.
Or they'll say you're not a true fan. Then a
true fan will question the crap that they put out, and I think that's exactly what it is. So, but we have something that's not crap.
No, something that is awesome.
Yes,
and it does tie into Star Wars because they have amazing Star Wars shirts. Also, is our sponsor T-24. So you can check them out at T-24.com. That's TEEMINUS.com. They have a huge selection of vinyl decals and T-shirts from a variety of TV shows and movie franchises. Christmas is right around the corner.
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
It's coming up very quick. We're already we're at the halfway point almost of October already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just crazy how fast it's flying. So, get on their order. Use our code ODD to get 10% off your entire order. Shipping is free on all their orders, so make use of that. And you're guaranteed to find something.
And they do different sales at times too, so you can watch for some of their promotions. Make sure you're following them on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the fun stuff. And watch for. I see them put like a shirt. Oh, it's $15 on special this weekend. They do. I'm sure as it gets closer, they've done it before. Maybe they'll do another Star Wars sale. Not saying they will, guys. So if they don't get mad at me.
Yep. And also, if you go to their websites, you can track what shows they'll be appearing at. So if they're in a town near you, you can go. You won't be able to use the odd code because they have their own super special promotions when you go see them live. Plus, you get a chance to meet Vinny and Lisa, which is always awesome. They're good friends of the show.
Yes.
Both professionally and personally.
Yep. And they were down. I know in Tennessee. I texted Vinny over the weekend. They did Fanboy Expo down there in Knoxville. Yep. And hopefully they had a successful show for them. I know I'm looking forward to seeing them in a few weeks in Akron, Ohio at the Akron Comic-Con. And we haven't seen them in a couple months. So
that's right. And I'll be there
missing hanging out with them. So definitely.
I finally got my confirmation that I will be at Akron.
Oh, good.
It took a little bit. They messaged me back going, "Who are you?" After they got the payment. I'm like, "I've been talking to you. This is Sky." Like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. They're like, "Why did this guy send us money?"
Well, just so everybody knows out there, you're welcome to send me money at any time. But if you want to send us money, go to patreon.com/oddmusings because we do have our Patreon page. And if you like our show and want to see it go up to a 2-hour show eventually, or maybe twice a week, or however we decide to do it, we got to get up to $500 a month coming in so we can cover those costs.
Yeah, we got to pay the piper, which is Dominic over there.
Yes. Plus, I could use the extra gas money.
But and we really think we're at the point where we can handle 2 hours a week and with quality programming, and so we want to do that.
Yes,
but
definitely.
we need help. So get on there. Now for our fun topic, our main topic of the day.
Yeah,
time travel.
Going back in time.
Huey Lewis. I love Huey Lewis.
Yes.
So time travel. What we're going to get into here is we're going to talk a little very lay person point of view of time travel because neither of us is scientists, but we can pretend to be because we slept at a Holiday Inn last night, right? Wasn't that the commercials?
Yeah.
We'll cover a little bit about favorite time travel in TV shows.
Yes.
And then we'll get into the movie aspect.
Well, it all came from our discussion last week on Following the Orville. We did it on Friday because I was busy seeing a movie.
Right.
And if you guys are following us on YouTube, that's where we do our Following the Orville every week because we're both big fans of the Orville show. And it's not about slamming Star Trek. We do that on our personal pages and forums. But it's about basically acknowledging a show that we both immediately fell in love with. And, it's basically, I think it's hitting on a lot of levels for both of us on nostalgia as well as fun and just there's a uniqueness in that too in the way they interact.
Yeah.
In that. But
that episode was a time travel episode. They had a time traveler in it. And so that got us talking about, because we also had that, you did a fun story about they were able to prove, they found something scientifically that helped prove Einstein's theory.
Yeah, that was the Nobel Prize thing. It had to do with the waves coming off of black holes.
Exactly.
And it proved one of his theories, which is all tied into time travel. I personally, and I keep telling people say, "Oh, you're wrong because of this and that." Science doesn't know squat when it comes to it. I believe time travel is possible, but not in the way they think it is because they're thinking too linear, and nothing wrong with Einstein. He's right in what he said. Time travel, as people think it would really happen, is too linear. Where time travel and realistically, and this is where I think movies get it right, is they can basically bounce around. Sometimes they change the future, sometimes they don't.
As far as real science and time travel, the theory of relativity comes in. It's not time travel in the sense of how movies portray it, but rather time moves at different speeds depending on velocity and different things.
Correct.
And what they are able to scientifically prove that the closer you get to the speed of light, that object, time is moving at a much slower rate than those that aren't moving at the speed of light. So the example commonly used is if you were to travel the speed of light for 10 years, for you personally, 10 years will pass. and then when you return, the place you left is time moved 100 years.
Yes.
Because the rate of time is flowing at different speeds for the two locations. So it's not time travel in the sense that you can say, well, I'm going to go to this date. It's a mathematical equation.
Right. It's
how fast time
actual
moves.
travel and distance and stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Now, the fun of time travel TV and movies is we get to speculate.
Yes.
There's such things as, wormholes, which scientifically, not that we have wormholes that we have traveled or know of, but mathematically they believe they exist. And it opens up doors like, well, if you go through this wormhole, does it lead somewhere else? Where does it open up?
And they've speculated in a lot of different movies, TV shows that one, it could be a time travel thing where you're going back in time in your location. They did that in the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
It was a wormhole, and then we come to find out at the end that it was Earth that he was on the whole time.
Which I believe the original Planet of the Apes, it actually used more of the time, the Einstein theory. He was in space for so long
Yes.
that when he came back, time evolved only so many years for him, but on Earth, time had just passed.
Right.
So
And it dealt with that. And then, of course, there's the other dimensions.
You get parallel universes.
Yep. Stuff like that. So
or even the Flash, they get into multiple Earths and the parallel universe theory.
Well, they even did it in the Green Lantern cartoon a few years ago. It was really cool. He crossed through like a wormhole, and it was like a steampunk planet, and they had a steampunk Green Lantern, which was really cool. That's my favorite episode.
Or Star Trek, you get the mirror universe where everybody's
Right.
evil.
But even then, and Star Trek dealt with time travel quite a bit. They did with the fourth movie. Basically, they looped around the sun, and they were able to go back in time to the 80s.
Which actually, once again, goes back to almost real science theory in the sense that they used the sun to accelerate their velocity past what they could do at warp speed.
Yep.
And the only difference with the real life theory is they actually went back in time, whereas they would have been moving forward still,
Right.
just at a different rate. But that one is one of my all-time favorites there. But that's the movie section. Another thing you have to deal with time travel stories is time paradoxes and how do they work.
Yes.
Like the Orville episode you mentioned. In that one, when they collapsed the hole, she disappeared because it didn't really happen then at that point.
Yeah, and we had a couple commenters on that after the episode, and so I interacted with them a little bit, and I kind of agree on this. We were kind of agreeing on this thing. I don't think she actually disappeared as she never came back. They collapsed the thing. She still came back, but she's something else. I think she's going to be, if she does come back, I think, and if they don't, and I could be wrong, but I think she's more like the version of Q for this universe, this movie and TV show.
Interesting.
Than that. And what it is she disappeared, and realistically, though, they blew up a thing. It already happened. She was already in their time, so she would have left and went back to her time.
Right. See,
As if it never happened. And that's because if it did, it would have taken, if they would have done that and it would mess up the entire time thing, everything would have been right back to before they got the signal for her.
Right.
And they would have been watching Seinfeld.
There you go. But my personal theory is with the whole paradox thing, I don't think things just disappear. I think what happens is so let's say physically you're in timeline A, then you travel back and into this new timeline, and you then change courses of things. You've now created a new timeline.
Yes.
You are physically on that timeline, though. So while timeline A might no longer occur,
Right.
because you've removed yourself out of that timeline, I don't think you just simply disappear because, well, those events didn't happen. It's just you physically being there have created a new timeline.
Yes.
And it just doesn't exist anymore. And I personally don't think you now have three versions of yourself existing in all these different timelines. I think you've just created a new stream.
Well, and then for her to have disappeared, it would have had to change the entire future to the point that she wasn't born. And they didn't discuss, her lineage or anything else. So destroying this thing here, obviously, if she disappeared after destroying this, then she was never born, and that's why
Not
she didn't come
necessarily.
back. Well, that's usually what happens when you destroy something that changes to the point where that person wasn't born. Then they come back to create those things that happen. But at the same time, that's where they would go back to what I said earlier. They would have went back to watching Seinfeld because none of it would have ever happened.
I think the point of that, my theory, is with them destroying that, all they simply did was remove the door. So her career as a time traveling artifact collector, she wouldn't have been able to use that door.
Right. No, and that's what it was. It's.
But I don't think it would have changed her life as. I mean, it could.
No,
be.
I didn't say it did. What I was saying is by destroying that door and her disappearing, they're implying that it changed her entire future.
Oh yeah.
And that realistically, though, then it still would have changed what they did. And after destroying it, then it would have reset everything back to where it was because none of it would have happened.
Right.
And there would have been what's called a paradox, which is kind of a ripple. We've seen this in other movies and TV shows where it ripples back and they can feel the time wave.
So talking about other shows on TV that deal with time travel, what are some of your favorites?
Well, there's Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who you got to talk about because that's obviously.
Well, of course. I mean, that's the big one everybody knows for time travel. Yep. Continuum. Did you ever see Continuum?
I did actually. That's on my list here. I really enjoyed season 1 of that, but then I don't know. I just fell away from it.
The first couple seasons I enjoyed. I watched the entire run just to see the ending, and I think it was one of those shows that, and this is what happens with anything when you're dealing with a lot of time change and dealing with time travel, and that is they got lost in what they were doing, and that screwed up their entire plot. And it got to a point of, well, how do we resolve this now?
A lot of times, my feeling with those kind of things, it almost feels like it's like they have this awesome idea, they do it, then it's like, oh crap, it's working. We don't have enough story content for another season.
Well, I think that's true. I think the problem is not just having a great idea; they have no end game. Now, and it's like with Lost, there really was no end game for Lost. And we can say, "Oh, this is where we want." Right. No, they ended up doing the fan theory from the first season,
right?
And it's because they didn't know what they wanted to do, and that's what happens. Especially with time travel, you can get really caught up in this. And the problem with time travel is you need an end game for how you're laying things out.
Yeah, and I think one of the all-time best time travel TV shows, in my opinion, Quantum Leap.
Yes,
loved that show.
What I liked about that was he basically had theorized you could time travel within his own life. The problem with that too was, and I like the show a lot, was if that was the case, then he should have only stuck with himself. But he was bouncing between other people.
Yeah, he would take over the body for those youngsters in the audience. If you don't know what Quantum Leap is, go check it out. It's really good. But he would actually inhabit the body of somebody in another time frame. So his body is actually in the future,
right?
But his consciousness, much like Days of Future Past with X-Men. His consciousness went back but he went into himself,
right? And
this one's jumping around,
right? He's bouncing around, but they set up within Quantum Leap because of quantum mechanics and quantum theory and all that stuff. It caused him to kind of be bouncing around, and what it was kind of like it was basically almost like a god. There's like a god figure that was actually controlling where he went, and he was designed because he was doing that. He was going to these people to fix their lives, and he wouldn't leap until it was fixed.
Let's see any other ones that pop out to you?
Yeah, I'm sure you got a few there.
I have a few. 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm not a fan of the movie version of 12 Monkeys, but I really like the TV version.
I haven't seen the TV series because I wasn't that big a fan of the movie. It's one of the things where I like Brad Pitt's character, but the movie as a whole, I was kind of like, I'm kind of bored.
Yeah, I agree. I did not like the movie. I know there's a good fan base for it, and if you like it, great for you. But I really think the series is able to go so deep into this. I really like where they went with that. I'm one season behind because I didn't realize when they started up the latest season there, I didn't know that it was on the air, so I completely missed a season. So I got to get caught up. But really enjoy that one. Let's see. Oh, here's an underrated one. Yes. Life on Mars. Did you see that?
I did. I loved Life on Mars.
I was so bummed that it only lasted one season.
Well, and the thing was, the way they ended it is because they knew they were being canceled, so they had a chance to do that final episode.
Yeah.
It was based on a British series. And the British series is a little different. I haven't seen the entire British series. I only caught a couple episodes. It was on Netflix at one time and disappeared a few years ago. But I loved the series. It was like 17 or 18 episodes. And it was really cool because it was Izzy. They were always speculating, is he back in time? And it all tied in at the end to kind of make sense that it would be that. But it was just a really cool, interesting look at time travel.
The rough premise for those who don't know it is there's this police officer who travels back in time.
Yep.
And he's in the 70s, and he's using what he knows of modern day forensics to help solve crimes in the 70s, because in the 70s they didn't have these techniques.
Right.
So he comes across as this genius, and what you start realizing is he's kind of from the future.
Right.
And I don't know, do we give the spoiler?
Go ahead. It's been like 7-8 years or more. anymore. So
there's these episodes where things happen where you start realizing something's up, and because it was getting canceled, they just had to rush the ending. And unfortunately, the way it ended, it wasn't great. But what you find out is they're actually on a ship.
Yes.
Going to Mars, and they were in a suspended state of animation, and this was basically like his dreams.
Right. It was all his dreams, and everybody on the ship was all characters in his dream.
Yeah. I think the simulation or something they were somehow linked to. I think it was to keep their sanity during the trip or something.
Yes. Yeah, is what the ending game was. So
yeah, and so anyways, you find out that he's actually on this spaceship where they're going to colonize Mars. But it was a really cool show. I enjoyed that while it happened.
I liked it because it was a neat look at it was basically like a 70s cop show, but he had all these things, and every once in a while he'd see weird things which you could tell, okay, something's going on with his time travel bit, because he's seen these little oddball things, and they all tied into the future part. But I liked it a lot. It was one of those shows that just was getting the ratings, but they definitely allowed it to play out to the end. So I mean, at the end, even though I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense, they're going to Mars, they're basically induced in sleep in that, so I got sleep chambers. I thought it was fun. But if it had gone a couple years, it would have been really cool to see them deal with all the cases he could have dealt with in his mind.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Another show that I loved as a movie too, Frequency. It's a different form.
I like the movie. I haven't seen the series. So
the series I think is better than movie, even though I love the movie, only because it can get deeper into the story having it as a series. Yeah. A different kind of time travel in that they don't physically time travel, but through the radio they communicate through time.
Right. Which actually that does kind of make sense in a lot of ways, because it'd be bouncing around through things, and I mean, you're dealing with that's where you're dealing with the light speed and things like that. Yes. We've got Tony on there. Hey Tony.
Hey Tony.
He's talking about time treks, and he mentioned Sliders.
I Sliders. I love Sliders.
Had John Rhys Davies in it.
Yeah. And also
next time we see him, you want me to introduce you as my mom. So.
The kid from Stand By Me.
Yep. Jerry O'Connell. Thank you. Yeah, he was in that, and pretty good cast. They changed cast a couple times. His brother was in it too. Yeah, real life brother. And then when he left, he replaced him. So it was a neat little change on that. I like Sliders. That's one of the ones I bought on DVD and Stone, and once in a while I'll break out the DVDs and watch them. And it used to be on Netflix for a while. Time Treks is it Time Treks? Yeah, Time Treks. I remember that, but I didn't really watch that one.
I don't remember it. I remember the name, but I don't remember the show.
That. And then Angela Logan mentioned Heroes.
Actually, Heroes is a good example. Actually, I was about to bring up Heroes, Angela, but I will say it's an example of where you can go wrong with time travel.
Yes.
Because it was really cool what they did, but the problem is if you're not careful, and this is what Heroes did, when people would die, they would use time travel to keep bringing them back.
Yes.
And the problem is, once you remove the threat of death from any kind of series, you no longer have to worry about your character, and you lose that dramatic tension from these scenes. Because
and that's also our storytelling. I think they lost themselves in their story, and that's why I enjoyed the first season. Second season started off good, but the more they time traveled stuff, it caused. I can understand having a time traveler, and I like that with Hero. I mean, he could travel. But he also has to be aware of what he can do and what he can't do. I mean, it's like Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, it's good old Time Cop.
Yeah, the keeper of the unitard.
Yeah, I actually have that on my movie list too. Yeah. So how about we get into let's do our quick, let's do an ad read.
Okay, we
can segue into the movie side of things.
Yeah. So what we got here?
We got
Voyagers. Okay, yeah, we got to talk about Voyagers too, real quick.
Oh, who's Voyager?
You never saw Voyagers? Voyagers came out in 1982. Janice mentioned that. I love Voyagers. I own it on DVD.
Voyager.
I forget the guy's name. It starred actually the brother, the kid in it is the brother for Soleil Moonfry, and in real life, and that. But he was a kid that basically this time traveler shows
also known as Punky Brewster.
Yes. What happens is you got this guy show up out of nowhere. He's got basically like a stopwatch looking thing, but it's his time travel device, and basically he has to save the kid. He jumps out of the window, grab him, and they go through time. And what it is the Voyagers are people that go through and fix things in time when they get out of Lyme.
Interesting. I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was from the 80s. I'll have to get the DVD out.
And one other shout out for our female audience, because they'll riot if we don't mention the all-time best time traveler show for females, Outlander. They all go nuts over that. Jamie Fraser.
I haven't watched that one yet. I'm aware of it.
I know nothing of it other than Jamie Fraser is everybody's favorite time traveler.
That's cool.
thing.
But speaking of favorites, let me talk about my favorite chiropractors, the Loringer Family Chiropractic, where your journey to wellness begins there. They like to help you build a healthy lifestyle with chiropractic care. I was there yesterday, got adjusted, and got my life back in alignment again, as I do every week, because I get out of alignment pretty quick and get messed up. But they offer everything from digital x-rays on site to massage therapy, orthotics, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, a full line of vitamins, and a family-oriented environment. Give them a call at 734-697-4244. They are located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. The number is for their Belleville location. Again, that was 734-697-4244. Or go online to LoringerFamilyChiropractic.com, which we have a link at oddmusings.com for you guys to easily find it there. And if you're not in the area and can't travel out there, give them a call and say, this is where I live at. Do you guys have any recommendations of somebody I can go see that's going to take care of me the way you guys take care of Brett, as well as Ashley Zambelli?
Yeah, Ashley was there yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we're looking forward to, because Janice has gotten the massage certificate from them, and we're looking forward to hearing from Janice after she gets her massage.
That's right.
And gets herself in alignment that way. But definitely. She mentioned Voyagers. Voyagers was an awesome show. That was back around 82, so that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think it was 1 or 2 seasons at the most. It wasn't a very long show. But it was a fun one. And I remember I used to watch that one with the family. I want to say it was almost like a syndicated show, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But I've got the DVD somewhere of that, because when it came out on DVD, I was like, I got to buy this. It's nostalgia,
Right.
But it came out around the same time that, in terms of movies, Time Bandits.
Time Bandits. That's
and
right.
in some ways, I felt they had a very similar, years later, I thought they had a very similar kind of theme in certain things.
Right.
Completely different way going about stuff, but some of the themes in terms of how time gets going through different events in time that are historical was kind of cool. And,
Time Bandits is a great classic for the time travel.
Oh, it was an awesome movie.
Another one that a lot of people don't think of as a time travel movie, but is a classic, A Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Ebenezer Scrooge. He's going in the future and the past to see how things would have happened.
And that's an interesting way that Charles Dickens did it. He was a way of showing him, here's your past, here's your present. So he technically had to time travel through that, because he was not in the same location.
Right.
And then here's your future, and the only thing that could change was the future.
Correct.
But the thing he couldn't do is, while he was time traveling, he couldn't change anything. So even though he was an observer, but he wasn't a participant.
Correct. Yeah. He wasn't. How would you describe that? An active participant.
Yeah, he wasn't a participant.
He was viewing it.
And he was only able to view, and he could move around and couldn't touch anybody, change anything. Of course, you're dealing with spirits and ghosts, so they had that kind of ability to move around through the ethereal level.
Yep. And then, as far as classic goes, The Time Machine itself, H.G. Wells.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be on AMC this week. I was flipping through looking at not AMC, sorry, Turner Classic Movies is going to have it on later this week. The original 1961.
Nice. I
set my DVR because it's coming on at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies that whenever I see it come on, I always DVR it. I think I own a copy of it, but if I don't, I love that movie. His buddy in it, they get the main guy that's you're following, but his friend of the Scottish guy is actually the voice of Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the original voice of Scrooge McDuck. He passed away just a few years ago.
Interesting.
And he was like 99 or something like that, but did a ton of movies. He's a big time movie guy, especially over in Britain and that. But I love the original 1961 Time Machine. And it dealt with going into the future and not so much, and didn't really deal with going in the past.
Right.
What I like about it was more about him exploring time and say, I can go in the future with this thing. So it kind of created
Didn't he go way too far into the future? Was the problem?
Well, what happened was he hit a certain point, and it was basically the grandson of his buddy, played by the same guy.
Yeah.
Basically, a nuclear war was happening.
Yeah.
And so he hopped back into the thing, and just in time hit to go forward when the bomb went off, and it caused him to shudder in his thing, and he basically got knocked out, and he hit the time thing and went up like 250,000 years.
There you go. Yeah, because there was like an evolved human species or something. Yeah.
But there was something interesting about it that
it's been a long time since
he could have actually, because he was able to get his machine back and go back to his present time, and then he went back to the future because of course he met a girl and fell in love, and that's where he wanted to be at and help rebuild society, knowing he probably couldn't fix what was going to cause it. But he went back to right when he left, and he actually could have gone probably sooner and stops himself, but of course then he causes his own paradox and stuff like that. So
now, as far as these movies go, this genre, time travel, is there any particular one that you can recall that made you fall in love with these type of movies, where you found an interest with time travel? Anything stick out there?
I mean, I'd seen the Time Machine, the original one, as a kid.
Yeah.
Pre-teenage years and stuff like that. So I always thought it was kind of cool, and seeing different things over the years at the time. There wasn't one that really hit it right away until Back to the Future. Okay. Back to the Future coming out in 1985. I was 14 years old when it came out, 13, 14.
Yep.
And right away, I was like, oh man, this is cool, because he hits his head, creates a device that he's able to figure out how to travel through time. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of cool. And it was the DeLorean.
Yeah. And the Back to the Future, and I think every single list I pulled up, they were the number one listing for time travel.
Right.
Franchises.
I mean, at that point, I had already seen Voyagers, like we talked about, because Janice brought that up. And so I knew of time travel in different instances. Mm-hmm. And the way they did it was kind of cool. They went and they had to fix time. The device told them when they fixed it and they would leave. But they weren't doing things to change. The Back to the Future showed that there is real consequences to changing. Even when you're changing for the better, there's still things that can happen.
Right.
I still blame Marty McFly at the end of Back to the Future 3. If he had taken that race and got hurt, we'd have flying cars today.
His fault.
It's all his fault. He should have raced the guy.
And they almost got the Cubs right.
Right.
They were only off 1 year.
Yeah, they were off by. And see, that's Marty McFly's fault too.
Yeah.
See, if they would have done that, he would have won the year before.
Now, I can't remember the order that they came out, but for me, it was Back to the Future definitely was a big one.
Right.
But also a movie, I don't know if you remember, The Final Countdown.
I love The Final Countdown.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, that was before that. And I like that one too. That was a neat look at it too, because it was the aircraft carrier gets taken back in time just before Pearl Harbor.
Right.
And it was one of the things where basically they speculate, well, we could stop this now because this one ship could destroy the entire.
Yeah, for those who don't know this was in the 80s.
Yeah,
so a modern day, so kind of like Top Gun era with Tom Cruise, like that type of ship and airplanes.
Yeah.
They go through this vortex and end up at this time. So that they have the technology of today.
Yes.
Which is now 30 years old. Going on to 40 years old. Oh, yeah. We're getting old. But they have modern technology against a World War II era.
Yeah, you're talking jets versus prop planes.
Correct.
And so they could easily wipe them out.
Yeah, and then you get to the moral question of, okay, we have this ability to stop this horrible event in the past.
Yeah.
Do you do it?
And what does it change?
Right.
And that was the thing too, was because he had one of the guy's main characters. This is kind of a spoiler for the film, but it's an old film, so if you haven't seen it, it's still fun watching. He gets left behind with a girl that they had picked up, because what it was is they realized that this boat that got attacked by the Japanese, all the people on it originally died.
Right.
Well, they saved a couple people on it, and they ended up leaving them on a deserted island. And one of the guys from the ship from the future stays with her. Mm-hmm. And at the end, they get out of their limousine. Of course, they're rich because I'm sure they know the entire future. So, but they didn't change anything on the future that you could tell. But it was just an interesting look back of, if you have the ability to go back, they've talked about if you go back and kill Hitler, if you go back and kill this person or that person, would you do it? And is it something that you should do? Right. Because the problem is you kill them. Is there someone that worse that comes along, or was it someone that was supposed to die during that time that didn't die?
Even like, let's take the kill Hitler theory. A lot of time gets put out there.
Doctor Who did it.
But the reality is, World War II, while it was this horrible, horrible event, it also caused massive migration patterns. And the reality is if you stopped World War II from happening, almost zero people alive today would be alive.
Yes.
Because great-great-grandparents never would have had the opportunity to meet. People wouldn't have moved from one country to the other. World War II a lot of people point to World War II as creating us as a superpower, America, because that's where we really upgraded our Navy and everything after Pearl Harbor, and we rebuilt everything. That's what made us the military superpower.
Right.
Prior to that, it was Britain.
And that's the thing with time travel is, if you can go back and change something, it's the whole butterfly effect.
Yeah.
You go back and change a little thing, how much does it affect it majorly? which was another good movie, Butterfly Effect.
Yep, that was a cool. That was really good.
I liked it. I didn't
Not
like
so
this,
much the second one.
Nah, the second one was just let's do a sequel because it made money.
Yeah.
It's a cult favorite.
Ashton Kutcher was good in that.
No, that was one of my favorite ones of
Yeah.
his movies.
Yep.
Besides Dude, Where's My Car? But
And not all time travel is serious, like Terminator. Terminator's a serious take on time travel.
well, Tony mentions Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness is a good
Yeah.
one, and also Groundhog Day.
Yes.
you can't have time travel.
Time
without-
travel isn't always about going to all these different times. It could be just like replaying
you're stuck in
it.
a loop.
Yep. There's a new one coming out tomorrow, Happy Death Day.
which is
And it's
horror
basically
Groundhog
horror
Day.
version of Groundhog Day.
Yep. Also on Netflix, I'll give a shout out too. There's one called Arc, ARQ. That's one of those time loop ones where they're stuck in a loop. They take a very interesting take on theirs. I recommend checking out if you love time travel, just because it's a different take than your usual time travel thing.
Well, and speaking of time loops, that's an interesting thing we've seen with Live, Die, Repeat, otherwise known as Edge of Tomorrow.
That one, I did not want to see it because Tom Cruise at that point, that was the jumping on the couch era and all that.
Scott's lying. He wanted to see Tom Cruise take
No.
his shirt off and do that run.
No.
Just
No,
for you
but-
watching on Facebook, it's like
No,
this.
but what I was going to say is I didn't see it at the theater because I had zero
You know what? I
interest.
didn't either. And I was saying,
But when I did see it, I'm like, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
And I've watched, and it's one of those movies, especially when I'm drawing, I
Yeah.
love having it on in the background because you don't have to pay attention.
It's a really good movie. It's actually just one I have. One of my I have it on digital. I do this thing for Warner Brothers every year, and every year they send me a bunch of digital movies. And it was one of them a couple years ago, and that was fun. But yeah, Army of Darkness, that was the one too. And that one actually, while it was a time travel thing, it could actually theorize it wasn't just time travel. It was actually crossing different dimensions or parallel universes because it was a portal that opens up and he gets sucked into it. But it, because he basically goes back to what looks like medieval times,
Right.
And that, which is pretty cool. And it's Bruce Campbell, and it was fun.
Yep, that was a fun one. Let's see. Of course, you got with Star Trek. We mentioned Star Trek 4, which is one of I love that one. But you also have Star Trek First Contact.
Yep.
And also the Star Trek reboot with Abrams. That was also time travel involved there.
Right.
So Star Trek has gone into this.
Well, and with
territory a
the
few times.
First Contact, it was about they went back and basically they were kind of stuck there, but they helped things along. So they kind of almost did like I was talking with Voyagers. They kind of went back in time and actually had to fix time because it had to happen. And they were able to kind of be a participant without overshadowing it.
Right.
And things had to happen a certain way so that way they could still be around.
Now here's one. This one I think is the least plausible, worst time travel event in a movie ever.
Yeah.
The first Superman movie, Christopher Reeve. You don't spin the Earth backwards, and it doesn't work. Like that lady in the
I'll just take it
That's
back
not
in
how
time.
it works.
No. I know that's not how I
So
knew this works.
Superman just flies super fast around the planet, reverses its rotation.
And as much as I love Christopher Reeve, I'm just not a fan of those movies.
Now,
I want to
like
be,
the
but
movies, but not,
the
not
first two I liked better than, of course,
Yeah.
the last two. But when it gets to that point, I'm like, that's
what I mean. There's parts that are
Margot
horrible.
Kidder. She's crazy.
Or, if I remember right, Kevin Lean always said he should have stopped right at the point where he saved her.
Yeah.
He should have let her die.
It was. They ruined the whole plot of the movie at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we've never tried spinning the Earth backwards to find out if it actually works, but I'm skeptical.
I don't think I want to try.
I'm
that.
skeptical. So there's
It'll
that
throw
one.
everything off on that.
Let's
so.
see. Some others. Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban.
We talked about this, Scott and I did last week when we were talking about the episode, is you got Prisoner of Azkaban. She did it so she could take extra classes, Hermione did, and was able to change it. And they used it towards the end to help fix things. But at the same time, she's like, I can't touch myself. We can't see ourselves. It'll mess everything up.
Right. And they did a great job in that movie of having those little things that happen in the movie that you, at the time you're watching, you don't realize. And then in the second half of the movie, when you're seeing it from the point of view of them being back in time, you see like, oh, that's when she threw the rock, or that's when they made a noise.
Right.
And, Hermione turns and is like, what is that in there? So I thought they did a great job with the whole interaction.
And they did make you feel that Hermione, even when they first seeing it before the second re-scene from the different angle, she kind of had an idea of what was going on.
I think so.
At that point.
Because that Hermione also knew she had a time turner at that point, too.
Now,
So.
I think J.K. Rowling did a good job with that in the books. They did a great job in the movie. Then she did the Cursed Child, and I think she wholly messed up time travel with the time turner.
Yeah.
Well, she went back, and this is a big spoiler on this one. I don't care if you haven't read it because it's been out for a couple of years. You should have read it by now if you're a Harry Potter fan like I am. It allowed basically Harry Potter's son, Albus, to go back in time with Draco's kid, and they changed things because he's mad at his dad because his dad's famous and everybody does like him, and he's got the middle child syndrome, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So they changed things, come back forward, and Voldemort didn't die; he had won, and this and that. So then they had to basically fix things, go back in time, and when they fix it, fixed it like back to normal. And the thing is when you change the future and you go back and you change things again, you can never put it back exactly the same way.
Correct.
And that's where I think different things make a mistake. And that's where I thought the Orville, the only problem I had with last week's episode was the way they try to change things. But when you change something, it's like Back to the Future. Something got changed, it changed everything in the future.
A great movie that didn't get much play, but it explores that whole idea of trying to fix it and not being able to. A movie called Project Almanac that came out 2 years ago, I think now.
I haven't seen that.
It's a teen movie.
Okay.
And the movie itself is okay. It's not this spectacular movie, but I really liked it. Was this whole idea of we have to go back and fix this. So they do, but then it completely changed everything. And every time they're making, sometimes things get worse, sometimes things get better, but they can never fix it. And I thought that was great. And one other irresponsible speculation on if time travel is discovered. My prediction is the most accurate movie ever for time travel, Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh. Actually, I like both movies on that one. Both were awesome.
It's going to turn out that that's actually how time travel works.
and it goes proof. You go back and change something, it changes forever. Of course, it's one of those things. It's like, hey, this is what we got here, and the one guy stayed in the past to make sure it got changed.
Okay, one last thing I want to point out, and then I'll be done on the topic, and if you have more, go on it. But now these are ones I haven't seen, but they showed up on all these lists of time travel movies, so I got them on my must-watch list. One called Safety Not Guaranteed.
Haven't heard.
Not sure of that one. The girl who's in it is in. She's in that. I hate my memory. Anyways, I forget her name now. But that one, and also Primer and Looper. They're both made by the same guy.
Looper I've seen.
Yeah, Primer came out before Looper, and my understanding from what I read on him, Primer is actually a very well done movie as far as how time travel would work.
Okay.
And then Looper is also one recommended. So I got those three on my must-watch list for time travel. How about you? Anything that...
we covered all the major ones, and I know there's a lot of other ones out there. TV
there's
shows.
so many.
There was a TV show years ago when you mentioned about the trying to go back and fix things. I believe it was called That Was Then. It got like only 3 episodes and they get canceled. I think ABC had it. I remember watching and liked it. Would like to have seen the rest of what they had shot. But it was about a guy who basically was able to go back in time, change in his life something in the future when he came back to see how it changed.
Cool.
And what I liked was nothing he did would fix everything for the better. Even though when it seemed better at first, there's always something wrong.
Yeah, there's some consequence.
Yeah, and I thought that would have been pretty cool on that. But before we sign off here, we've got to hear about
the Chubby Duck.
The Chubby Duck, one of my favorite
Chubby Duck Detroit. So they're taking sushi to another level. They're using locally sourced food for their ingredients, and they're located in downtown Detroit. And you can check them out on their Facebook page at Chubby Duck Detroit to see all of the updates on their latest recipes and awards and other things. And Brett and I got to eat down there. Food is awesome, so check them out.
Yep, I hope we get back down there again sometime.
Yeah, or for any of our sponsors, if you don't remember their names or anything, go on oddmusings.com. Go to our sponsors page where you can follow up on them and see the links to all their products.
Yeah. Before we sign off, Tony wanted to know if we heard of 7 Days. I haven't, but it sounds familiar. I have to check into that. I wonder if that's the one that was based on the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that dealt with some time travel, some days or something like that. So Tony will be checking that out, and then Janice, I think it's Janice? No, James. Sorry, I got my glasses on today. Wanted to know who invented Skynet. Well, if you watch Terminator 2, you find that out. But actually, but in real life, it was invented by Al Gore because he invented the internet.
There you go.
So we'll blame Al Gore for that, as well as global warming.
So moving into next week, what's going on with you? You got Grand Rapids coming up in 2 weeks.
A week from Friday, I'll be heading down there. Yep. A couple weeks away, and then I do a string of shows. I got 3 shows. I got Grand Rapids, Fort Wayne Fantasticon in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then we're both going to be in Akron. While I'm in Fort Wayne, though, you're going to be where?
I'll be over in France. France in Paris. So that's coming up. I'll talk more about that next week.
He'll be having some French bread.
But this week, I've got my marathon coming up. So go to www.theartofscott.com if you want to donate to my charity that I'm running for. And then also next week, we got our friend and awesome author, Matthew Kaddish.
Yeah.
He's going to be calling in. We're going to be interviewing him because he's got his third book of his Earthman Jack
he's
series.
got 3 of them coming out.
Yeah, it's one book that he split up into 3 parts because he just went insane and got all J.R. Tolkien on it and made it insanely huge. So
check out our page, though, guys, because we're going to be posting a link to his Amazon page so you can download his books on Kindle or buy the hard copies.
And then last but not least, tune into Motown Mojo Live this upcoming Monday next week.
Yep.
But still the upcoming Monday. I will be co-hosting with Dominic on his amazing show. And anything coming up for you, Dominic?
No, I'm just going to be at that Akron show.
You'll be at Akron?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it.
Well, until next time, guys, we'll see you live. Don't forget to go to oddmusings.com. Check out our Patreon. Check out our YouTube. We'll be on tomorrow with Following the Orville about 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So until then, Dominic, take us out.